Welcome to the Reality After Show. Jonny is not here. Man, he's so busy. He's out doing Hearts of Reality, but it's okay. This is the Challenge Ride or Dies episode 9 recap. Whew. I'm your host, Alex. We got Dan here, the Joker. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I think the worst part about, this episode, other than everything that happened with it, was my DVR didn't record it. So when I found it to watch it, I had to sit through the commercials. So it made this long episode
Oh,
even longer to watch.
that's rough. That's rough. I woke up extra early this morning to watch the episode because your boy works. And I didn't need to wake up early to understand what was happening in this episode. This was definitely a big step down from how the season has been going. I will also say it lacked the star power of Jay and Michelle.
It did. The only thing, and the challenge deals with quits or medivacs all the time. My only thought for it was maybe they stretched it out because they planned, hey, we're going to do so many episodes, and you had a few people dropping out in the beginning. From the preview, it still seems like there's a chance that someone gets medivac, so maybe they needed this filler episode. But if this was their choice, thinking, hey, this is what we want to do mid-season, then I have a lot of questions for them.
Yeah, because who does it? I guess if you're an Australian Survivor fan, you love this because Survivor Australia is chock full of non-elimination episodes.
Yeah, but at least with that, you still get the entire, episode format where, okay, there's a challenge, they're still going to tribal, and it's some type of twist. For this, it was, yeah, there was a challenge, and the twist is just we're going to pick teams at the zone.
Yeah. No, it was like that was the thing. It was like I was looking at the time when it was getting to the zone. I'm like, are we really just finishing this with just selecting teams? Like nothing. No teaser into the next episode of an elimination or like the setup of how it's gonna go. Nothing. But okay, so we jump right into the episode because they do not do previously on this season at all.
Mm.
And Olivia has already forgiven Nelson. And they are making out in front of everyone.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Wasn't that mad.
But what the thing is with Olivia, like, she's always of this mindset of, like, if something goes against her, she, like, puts it into her head, like, well, he obviously made the tough call, but it was the call he needed to do for his game. Like, it's always, like, if something goes against her, it's like, well, it makes sense for their game that they had to screw me over.
And I think that maybe that's something of, that more of a rookie would bring. Like, clearly, well, in this season, none of the vets would be okay with it. But I even think with Olivia that, when she comes back the next time, I don't think that's something that goes quite as well.
No, like, when you have a little more pool with a cast, I think you won't fly as much with the, oh, you're gonna keep screwing me over. Hey, no, not about that life. But okay, we briefly get Nelson and Fessy talking about like just how nervous they were, and Anissa for some reason is there, who is the reason why they were down there. And she's like, well, everything worked out. I'm like, shut up. Shut up, Anissa. Like, I'm saying it not just as for the fans, but for them in that room. The last thing they want to do is hear you talk.
Yeah, how many times a season she just interjects herself in places and times that she doesn't is, I feel like it only gets worse and worse.
Mm-hmm. And then from here is where like we sort of get more of a montage, or not montage because it's several minutes of them being like, here's all the teams. I wonder why we're showing all the dynamics of almost every single team. Something has to happen. But it starts with Fessy Fessel, and I immediately go, oh no. Oh no. We've been singing his praises this season. God damn it, we have been singing his praises and saying, you know what? he's a good player. And that part's still true. He
Mhm.
is a good player, but he is not a good player.
Yeah, I won't jump ahead, but I have a number of comments regarding him as we go on throughout this
Jump
episode.
ahead. Why not? We can always re-talk about it. It's one of our favorite pastimes.
But it's just what I think he says, when the challenge is going on or whatever is, he looks at Jordan Bananas and he feels wrong as if, he could be a 2 or 3-time champ. It's like, in what world is Fessy a 2 or 3-time champ? Like, total madness. He gasses out, which understandably, he's a bigger guy. They're at
Bigger guy in a
altitude.
cold
Yeah,
climate.
that's tough.
The second time, he refused to eat.
He refused to eat, and Casey was hurt. So, I mean, maybe they had a shot if she doesn't get hurt, but I still don't think anyone was outrunning CT and Amber.
Well, he definitely wouldn't be a 3-time because the third time he decides to hit his best friend.
Yeah, so it's just like, Fessy, like, we were singing your praises. Like, you do have this promise, but don't act like, I feel like this is more of Fessy, oh, I'm better than 99% of the NFL players. It's just like, no, if you can tone that ego down just a little bit and find your spot, like, you have all the tools to become a multiple-time champion in this game. But if he gets in his head and up thinking that he's better than what he is, like, I'm sure that'll be a recurring theme through not just this season, but going on, that he's just missing one or two pieces to put it all together.
Well, it's funny because like you hear it on the show or people talking in other podcasts, and they're like, Fessy has this charisma. He's funny. He pulls you in. But like eventually, almost every single one of them ends up being like, well, I'm friends with him, but he's extremely selfish. I would not want to be his partner, even though he does great in the challenges. Like for the most part, he's a way above average daily performer. Like he is not a dummy. Like I think I saw somewhere on Twitter that he was like a dean's list at like a all academic team, like while he was a collegiate athlete. So it's like he had some brains about him. Like he's not always the smartest guy, but you can't just rule him out as a complete dummy. And obviously he's a great physical competitor. But his issue is always going to be, I have to be first. I have to be first. And the only reason why he was putting up with Mariah, who was his ride or die in quotes for the audio listeners, is he picked her because I think he thought, oh, I can be like CT. I can do all the work, and I just need someone who can run with me.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, I believe it was last week's pod where you said, or it was last week or the week before, that he was in the perfect setup and we've seen it, pretty much through all of his seasons, that the first half of the game, he doesn't need to do much. He's set up perfectly for that. And I don't know if that's what gets to his head because he does so well, but it's just, he can't figure out the end part of the game. He always makes some crucial mistake here or there, that it's just maybe if he was able to take a step back and realize, hey, I am really good at this, but I need to fix these few things. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be, the powerhouse, the dominance that CT is, but I think maybe it's a little bit of the similarities that, the first half of CT's career, he gets in his own way. So if Fessy can stop doing that, he can be that multi-time champion that he wants to be. But I don't know if he has the tools to actually do that.
And it's not like either Jonny or Jordan won their first couple times on. Jordan doesn't win until he has an amazing partner in Sarah.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was his third time because
it was
finals with Mark. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Rivals 3, and then he won Dirty
30 and War of the Worlds 2.
Right, Rivals 2. Yep, got it. Okay. And Jonny, obviously, he's the first boot of his first season.
And he's goes out.
In and out.
He goes out pretty early then again on...
Is it the Island that's his first win?
Island's the first one. He does pretty good, and I think it's one of the... I always confuse them, the Gauntlets or the Infernos. But the other one, like one he does well, the other he gets cut pretty early again, and it's the Island where he finally wins, which was just a weird season to begin with.
Right. So it's like, even the best people, not all of them win right off the bat. And some of the people that like we look back very fondly of only win because the format of the challenge is, oh, there's two giant teams and the whole team wins. Congratulations.
Yeah, and
So
even
it's
bringing it back to CT, it took him forever, and it took being partnered with Wes, which was just a powerhouse team.
yeah, it took him threatening to kill people, being off because of that, being off the show for a long time, coming back for his redemption for DM, and like having to do it with one of his worst enemies at the time. So it's
Mhm.
like you can't really pick and choose when it is you're going to become a champion. Production will do that for you, but you're not there yet, Fessel. But what pains me is I truly believe, like, do I think she's the best performer on the field? No, but I think Mariah is a very good partner to have. Just like in general, not just for Fessel, but just in general. She seems to have just like that good, calm energy. And like, as long as she has someone who also can help motivate her through like the struggling parts of a challenge, she's more than capable of holding her own.
She's, uh, as you said, she has the good energy. I think she balances any team out. And I think another thing that makes her a good partner is, while I wouldn't say that there's anything that she's excellent as, she has no glaring weakness. So she's never going to be the reason why you would lose. She just might not be that reason that pushes you over the top to win.
Just don't give her a map. She does not know that.
It's true.
But okay, that sends us to our next group, and that is Bananas and Nani, and they're just sort of like laugh, and that's sort of like their character this episode. They're sort of just joking about everything, and they're like, "Man, like after the first week, we haven't really been on anyone's radar. Like we're sort of just flying under here. We're getting through it. Bananas is here to get Nani her first win, the one thing that's evaded her entire challenge career." And then they finish it off with like him just joking around saying, "Have I lost my edge?" Because no one's targeting us.
Well, and I think it's something that it's good for them, and it's because they've done so many seasons that they realize where they're at in the game. And you see it more in the challenges, they kind of just get from frustration to joking around, where it's just, hey, we just don't have it today. We don't need to be as maybe they would be in, if it's your first handful of seasons where you're getting mad at your partner or whatever. It's just simply, hey, we don't have it today. We're just going to have a good time. And this challenge here isn't going to define what we're going to do in this game.
Right. And I'll be honest, I think most of the arguing during that was all just for the shits and giggles, like for the camera. Because like
I'm sure.
I know some people are like on Twitter like taking it seriously with how bad that they did. And they're like, why it's you know what, if I was Fessel, I'd be upset too that someone like Jonny or Jordan are not, or like have all these wins and he doesn't have any. I'm like, well, first off, they've done the work to get those wins. Second off, Jordan is literally attached to an anchor, and Jonny and Nani aren't taking it seriously because they knew that they didn't need to this round.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everyone knows, like except for Fessel, because Fessel just needs to win.
He'll figure it out eventually, maybe.
No, he won't.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Then we have this weird storyline that's been starting up these past few weeks, and it's like consistently trying to find the chinks in Horatio's armor. Because like we go for the first like handful of episodes, and everyone's essentially like, Horacio's a god, like he's perfect
Mm-hmm.
for this. And then these last few episodes, like, well, he cracks under pressure. Now we're learning that because he's his biggest critic, like he really will like go within himself and not be a communicator. And Olivia is someone who needs someone who can be an active communicator. But it's like the beginning of the episode just like sets up like their like quote unquote downfall. This episode, like they make up at the end, but
yeah, and I'll give you credit for another point you made in a past podcast, and I think it's what we're seeing here is we're getting more of the stories of why some of these teams may not win, which leads me to believe that Horatio still may be around for a little while, but this could all be, these past few weeks of highlighting, showing, hey, this is why maybe it won't work out for him this season.
yeah, and like, but we're getting more out of him now. So I'm like, oh, I have more faith that we will see him again. I mean, if they're gonna cast Kenny on a show, which is our next group, where Casey goes, I literally forget my brother is here. And everyone on the cast and in the audience goes, oh, same.
Yeah, when Kenny started getting lines and it happened early on in the episode, I was like, oh no, like they're they're in trouble.
I'm like, are we missing Michelle and Jay that bad that now we have to give confessionals to Kenny?
Yeah, and I guess it made more sense as the episode went on because you pretty much see every team doing that, dual confessional format. So it makes more sense early on, but it's just, I don't know, it's just so
I
many
don't know.
issues.
I think the writing's on the wall here. Like we've been speculating on how eliminations are going to be moving forward. I think the writing's on the wall for Kenny and Casey. Their time in this game is coming quick. That's the only reason why, because they were so hyper focused this episode and consistently pushed either of them in confessional to be like, but that's my brother, that's my family, and now we're enemies. I'm like, and now you're gonna be gone.
Yeah, I mean, and not to keep jumping ahead, but when they're talking about teams, like I just think that it doesn't even occur to them that you're still maybe tethered to your partner in somehow. I mean, I know we discussed last week that if they were going to do this, maybe this would be bloodlines, but it's just I feel like none of them even assumed that this was a possibility, and I'm not entirely sure why or how.
Yeah, it's interesting. But then this leads us to, let's do Amber and Chauncey first because it literally does not matter. They talk about, it's essentially Amber this episode talking about how she wants Chauncey to get more of a footing in the game. And I'm saying this now because I ain't bringing it up again later. But it's this idea of she wants Chauncey to have a future on the show. And I think partially it's a selfish thing and like not in a bad way, where it's like, I want to ensure that someone gets called back that I'm actually good with.
Yeah, that won't hate me every season.
But like, I feel like if she's still saying it now, even she's thinking, oh, Chauncey's a wallpaper. Like he
Yeah.
does not have a story.
Well, yeah, outside of his conversation with Jordan a few episodes ago, and then in the elimination, he's someone that, yes, we've seen him a little bit more than Kenny, but that's a low bar.
It's a very low bar. But it's okay. He's sensitive and open. Okay. This leads us to our last segment before, semi last segment. I'm going to combine the two before the daily. And it's the Tori, Jordan, and Nerys of it all. And, this is rough. So,
Yeah.
y'all are ex-fiancés, but you get into the house, like obviously and like what Jordan says is very true, and what Tori says is very true. It's like when you get thrown back into an environment, like a hostile environment like the challenge, and even though you've broken up, even though like that is gone, there's always that little thing that crawls back in your mind of like safety, security, comfort, and you see this person that you were engaged to. And that's going to come back. Whether or not it's true feelings or not is a different thing. And we see it obviously where, at least to the cameras, Tori is like making it out to be like, oh, I could see something. I have doubts on the legitimacy of that. And on the other side, you have Jordan who's like, yeah, we fall into this trap of this comfort zone, but this doesn't mean that I'm trying to rekindle and like restart this romance.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you can see both sides, and they're both right and have legitimacy to them, but it's just I don't know. I think this should have been the first clue for all of us that we're in for a rough one this episode.
It's okay. They're wrestling. It's okay. It's just wrestling. And then she's not naked there. She's not naked there. Let's just be clear about that, because she was naked when they were cuddling. She makes a point of that. I mean, go off, sis. But it moves us over to Nerys, and Nerys is talking with Olivia about it, and they're like, who has quickly moved on from whatever his name was,
Jonny.
Jonny. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Not even top 5 Johnnies of reality TV. Come back later on and prove yourself. But I like the word is that when he was leaving, he essentially said like, "Oh, this was just a fling. Like it's nothing
Mhm.
more than that." So Nuri's saying that Jordan's been giving her the eye all season. Like they have a good vibe. We get a flashback to them doing some awkward dancing at the club. Um, and I love Olivia here because like Nurse is saying, even though we all know Nurse was on X on the Beach. She was on Are You Doing? She's going to hook up with Jordan, but she's
Yeah.
trying to like come off and be like, well, like, how am I supposed to do this when the ex fiance is here, when Tori's here? And Olivia just immediately goes, well, you're not her friend. Like, do you, girl? And I'm like, yes, Olivia, do it.
Yeah, it's something that I don't know. I guess they're plugging in here to give it more of a storyline, but it was clearly going to happen. It was going in that direction, but at least, you hear Nerice's point of view a little bit ahead of time, so she doesn't come off as that bad, being like, well, I do have some reservations about it.
Yeah, and before the daily, they hook up.
I mean,
Yeah,
gotta release some stress.
Jordan just gets into Nerice's bed. You're in my bed. Oh, and yeah, and then they go to town. Good for them. Good for them. The challenge needs more hookups that are actually shown. So I'm happy. But
Progress.
let's move on to the daily. It's a mini final. It's become more of a custom in the challenge now, is to have a daily that semi reflects what you can expect in a final. So this is a 6 mile course with a few checkpoints along the way. And obviously you just have to complete it all and be the first team there. And you will wield the heaviest power with an important decision to make. And I think as soon as any veteran hears that, they're like, no one's getting eliminated. Why am I winning this?
Yeah. No, it's because what else could it really be? Like, we've seen it isn't, the first time that they've switched it into teams. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that, okay, that's what the power is going to be. I mean, the only other, I think, possibility would be if whoever won got to send, 2 teams into elimination, but I don't think they do that just because they like the format of, sending that many teams down there and drawing. So I think this should have been the most obvious, outcome to everyone there.
Well, here's the thing. I would have just done, now if you come in last, you're automatically in. That's the twist. We're going back to what it should have been, and then you pick 3 teams to be in the dagger. So there's no, like, you lose the interrogation of it all. But like, okay, put in a couple minutes of bar time. You keep it going. We can have a 12 episode season. It's okay. It's okay. We're allowed to have this, MTV.
We can't all get nice things.
We need a break. This I like did the math during our Challenge Australia. The Challenge Australia coverage, which you can get by becoming a patron at realitypatron.com, along with Jonny and Matt's coverage of the Survivor Australia, as well as their weekly Q&A, which is the best podcast of the week. But I was saying, this is the 6th challenge podcast I have done this year. I've done 2 All-Stars, 2 main shows, Challenge USA, and the Challenge Australia.
I was going to say this would be my 3rd, and I started in the summer, so.
Hey, yeah, you become a veteran fast. Yeah, see, yeah, you're a veteran in challenge status now.
There we go.
You just like circumvented the rookie phase, and you're already a veteran now, just looking for your win.
If I had to get the rookie phase out of the way, I'm glad it was Challenge USA.
Yeah, because no one wins there.
No.
Okay, so what we're gonna do here is, instead of like going all beat by beat, I'm gonna talk about what the challenges were in here, and then we'll just talk the main points. So for this, the first checkpoint was using their plank that they have to carry throughout this, as well as 3 barrels to get across a just like a patch of ground if you touch the ground at any point, you have to start over. We've seen this in I think every single reality TV show now at some point. Um, and everyone does it correctly for this type of thing, except for Bananas and Nani, who decide we can roll this. We can roll all three.
I mean, they were trying something new, but at the end of the day, they still get out of there like third or fourth, even with falling.
And yeah, and even with that, it's like I feel like that's the first clue you get that like, oh, they're not taking this as seriously. Like, oh, it'd be cool to win, but like, let's have some fun here.
Mhm.
After that, you then pick up sandbags, and you have to put the sandbags onto your plank and keep going. That leads you to checkpoint 2, where you can use those sandbags to sabotage your opponents that aren't there yet, and clip the sandbags to the end of their sleds. You then have to haul your sled over to the finish line, where then you do a 4x4 puzzle or a pull puzzle where there's 4 designs and each side has to show all 4 symbols. We see some people get tricked up by this one. After that, you are running again. You eventually pick up 6 tires, and then the third checkpoint is throwing the tires over this barrier, and then on a pole, organizing them from top to bottom, from the most southern location on the tire to the most northern, and then from there you run to the finish line. Did I miss anything?
No, that's pretty much what it is. But we got 3 commercial breaks in here. I
We
think
did
so.
get 3 commercial breaks, which is the other clue of if you still haven't figured it out yet, there was no elimination this episode.
Yeah, and I think that's where you see kind of the rest of the teams that didn't get their, spotlight in the beginning. They're getting them throughout this challenge. And hey, let's just see how long we can drag this out, because what else are we going to show for the last 45 minutes?
Right. And so like we already touched on Bananas and Nani. They don't take it seriously. They let themselves get last. They're joking around like, oh, we are taking this seriously. Don't worry. Blah blah blah. So I'm gonna let you run with this. Where do you want to start in terms of the teams you want to focus on here?
I mean, we could always go back to Fessel and Mariah, but I feel like we already said a lot about them. I think this is just more, as we already talked about, that he wants to win. He wants to win, and he really doesn't care about anything else. I think this is where, you see more of like Nelson and Nerys, that they're a good team, but a little worried that they may come up just short on, not just this challenge, but others.
And not because of Nerys.
Yeah. I did enjoy, throughout this entire challenge, I think at this point, Jordan's pretty much checked out on it too, just screaming the whole time, being like, we're coming for you, despite the fact that they're in last throughout all of it. And then, but I think the biggest thing that we see throughout this is and we touched on it a little bit, is the Olivia and Horacio cracks in that team, and in Horacio more specifically, that we didn't see the first 6-7 episodes of the season.
Yeah, Horacio, it's very interesting where like I get it. I get where he's coming from. Like when you lose a game or something, you just like put it all on yourself, and like you sort of like separate from the group because you don't want to like blow up on someone. Like you don't want your anger to be misplaced onto somebody else. So you like just remove yourself from the situation. But it's like it's a moment where people are heated. Olivia's upset about it. She's said on Twitter like after the fact that like, no, he's not an asshole. Like I get it. It was just in the heat of the moment, I was just frustrated that he wasn't communicating.
And
yeah,
I think it's pretty common, especially, because they're rookies and they're, younger compared to a lot of people in the house. And I think it's what you deal with. And, as you mature, you figure it out a little bit more, that yes, you can do, I'm going to blow up because I'm mad and I'm going to release everything. And when you don't want to do that, it's like, I'm going to hold everything in. And sometimes you need to learn the hard way that isn't the right way to go about it either. You need to find that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing on Casey and Kenny. They were there. Except Kenny gets a confessional saying, my knees hurt. I'm like, Okay. Did we need this confessional? No, we did not. Amber and Chauncey were sort of irrelevant in this comp as well. I think Jordan's only joking because he knows this at the time like didn't truly mean anything. I think if this was a regular daily or like had more implications, he is not being joking and jovial with Anissa. He is
No.
pissed the F off. I almost did it, but we are reality after show now, and I can't use that word. But for now, they get the joke. But Fessy and Mariah win, and we are told your ride or die pairs are no more. The game is shifting. You're now going to be on 2 teams, and as the winners, not only are you guys already split up, but you guys will be picking the teams. And with that, we're going to go to our sponsors. So, Balls.
Support for Reality After Show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. That's right, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SURVIVOR at manscaped.com. If my math's correct, that's about 12 million balls.
The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies.
First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever.
Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to help reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and has a 4000K LED spotlight that you need for a more precise shave.
Now, I have a dark shower curtain in my bathroom, and I've been looking for the perfect way to shave in the dark, kinda. Guess what? I found it! 4000K LED! No longer a problem. I got perfectly smooth, clean balls thanks to the Lawnmower 4.0.
It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code SURVIVOR. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code SURVIVOR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Thanks for sticking with us through the ad break. And don't forget, for more exclusive Reality After Show coverage, visit realitypatron.com. That's reality, Patron.com.
It's the holiday season. You need a gift for your loved one, your special one. Give them some good grooming tools at Manscaped. We are back. And this is like now we're at a portion of the episode where everyone's like, we're worried that Fessel's going to get power hungry. And guess what? He does. And we get this narrative now of Mariah being like, people have kept telling me that Fessel's a very selfish player. He's self-interested. As soon as he no longer has use for you, throws you away. I don't believe that. She very quickly finds out it's true.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, I think this is also what you see, maybe not so much in Total Madness, but you've seen kind of be his downfall in his past 2 seasons is he's fine, but then once he gets that power, he gets some power and gets a little bit power hungry. That's usually the beginning of the end for him.
Yeah, and why would it have been Nelson of all people that would talk sense into Fessel before he starts strategizing for his teams? Because at first Fessel's like instinctively, I just want to take all the strong people, and then like just force Mariah to take the leftovers. His words, and Nelson's like, "Oh, you see, man, like the way I see it, the only thing I'm thinking about is the final and who I would want to run that with. The dailies don't matter." I think that part didn't hit Fessel's brain because Fessel's like, but I win.
Yeah.
But I win everything.
And they clearly haven't figured out that there may be a way that they're tethered together. So I think it's Nelson that even says that you want to make sure that you're also protected on the other team as well.
Absolutely.
who knows? I could be wrong, but if we are tethered together and this is some bloodline scenario, I mean, we can get into it more as, the teams unfold, but this could be a way where, he's going to cry and moan because he could be taken out because maybe Mariah goes in an elimination.
See, I really would rather it be Mariah goes because Fessel loses something.
Of
Just for
course.
that great irony, like not for her sake, but for his sake. But that sends us to the bar. I already said there was stuff I'm not talking about because I don't think it's relevant, or we've already really touched upon it. Now we get Fessel being butthurt that people are going and talking to Mariah at the bar, and he only has Casey talking to him. And I'm like, well, you should probably read into that a little more, man. Like, why is it that no one's coming to you, like bartering with you and saying, like, hey, can I be on your team?
Well, yeah, it's almost weird that, he has all this power and he's like, what do you mean these people are trying to be self-interested? Like, the spotlight's on
I'm the
me.
only one who can be self-interested.
Yeah.
I'm the one who gets to have all the toys and then throw out the ones I don't want. You want to have Jordan and Bananas? I can't compete against them. Oh, actually, I mean, you can't have all that strength. Like, we have to distribute it. It's not that I'm threatened by both of them being on the other side. Let's make that clear. It's not because of that, because I am better than 99% of current NFL athletes.
Yeah, I mean, he is football. He is the challenge. He's just everything.
Yeah, bring more of them on. We need more athletes with no charisma on the show. Yeah, let's do that. But like we do all that, and now we get a little more of the after the bar. Like Tori is seeing Jordan and Marie sort of like cuddling up in the kitchen area, so she goes outside. She's venting to Devin, who is a ventilator.
He is, in fact, a ventilator.
He is, in fact, a ventilator. And then it's Devin who's like using every single weather analogy all at once for natural disasters. For at some point, Tori's going to explode. And like, you get it. It's hard to see someone that you were very close with, engaged to, was going to marry, have feelings, and is like it in front of you in some way or another, hooking up with someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a tough situation, but I think it's one of those things that you can understand everyone's point of view, but it just is what it is.
We're going to say
reality TV.
Yeah, we're going to say the deliberation for later. We're going to go straight into Jordan and Tori then have a fight. And I think it's weird because they're both in the wrong, somewhat in the right. Like, I instinctively side more with Jordan, but we don't know how much of this thing with Nerys is to be vindictive towards Tori. And so, like, that's obviously going to be, like, Tori's side is, you're only hooking up with this person so that you could hook up in front of me as some sort of, like, payback for, like, what I did with Fessel after we had already broken up.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best that they're both right, they're both wrong. It's just, it's tough. And I think you kind of see part of the reason of why maybe Jordan was hesitant to come back, simply because he didn't want to have all of these conversations on screen. But it's also, when this starts happening and then she attacks him, I feel it's really easy to let out some of these emotions that you felt for the past, year and a half. And you don't want it to be on, yeah, my bad. And you don't want it to be on screen, but when she's coming after you like that, like, it's going to come out.
Yeah. But like, I think he brings up a good point, because like Tori's only talking in the I sense of like, this impacts me. Like, you're doing this to me to spite me. And he's like, this is like throwing me back to the last few months of the relationship where it was the Tori show. Like, it was only, what was it impacting Tori? Not me, not us. It's only about you. And it's like, I'm glad that nothing's going to happen now. Air is clear.
Yeah. I mean, I think for them, this is just their sign that, hey, it's it's probably best if we just move on. Like this isn't a thing anymore.
And it was never going to be a thing. And I'm sure they will have great detail and unbiased opinions about it on the official podcast of the challenge. But hey, that's why you come here for the actual takes, or wherever you go to listen to the challenge. We're happy to have you here. Now we'll go into the last section of this, and where like Bananas is talking to Mariah, trying to like not like necessarily just be like, oh, I want you to pick me because we're hooking up, but it's just like, don't let Fessel take charge. Like, he's going to try to manipulate you so that he can take every single strong player. Like, you just need to go in there with a plan, know what you need to do. Like, don't let him manipulate you. And she's still a little naive at this time about like how Fessel's going to do it. But then we get into deliberation, and she sort of sees it immediately. We're like, she's asking for a lot, trying to get Jordan and Bananas. Like, that is asking.
It is asking for a lot, but it's okay. So you want to take Casey. All right. Like, I'll give you that. You know, that's your best friend, but she's also a really strong competitor. And so, okay, she wants Jordan and Bananas. And then Fessy's like, well, then I get the next 3 picks. And it's like,
well, it wasn't even that. It was like, I want Jordan and Bananas. Okay, you can have Jordan. I'm going to take Bananas. I'm going to take Nelson. I'm going to take Tori, Olivia. Like, I'm going to take everything. But you took Jordan. I was willing to do everything your way because you let me pick my friend, but then you picked Jordan. Which, let's be real, he's more upset that meant that he was getting Anissa on his team.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud, folks, like, because they never say it. That's why he's upset.
Yeah, he didn't want Anissa, which understandable,
Fair.
but I feel like, you know, from her side of view too, like that's only fair. You're giving me Kenny.
Yep. But this is where Fessel really gets into selfish mode. Messy Fessy. Just like God complex. I'm the greatest thing on earth, and now you are challenging me. And like, we saw her tweets. I don't know if you saw them.
I did not.
Where she was essentially like, he was very like not even passive aggressive. It was just like when after they won, where she competed sick. Like that, she was saying like when they were in deliberation, like she was constantly throwing up. Like that's like how much she was sick, and yet she competed very well. Mm-hmm. And whenever she would try to ask for anything or like any type of help, Fessel would just be like, "I brought you here." Like it's like essentially just be like, "You're supposed to just lay down and let me. This is my show, not yours.
You came here to let me win. That's what you're gonna do."
Yeah, and so that sends us to the zone. And at first, I was like confused because they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be decided by a coin flip." I'm like, but for some reason in my head, I was like, I thought they were selecting the teams in deliberation just to then announce them at the zone. But no, you're doing it at the zone physically. And of course, Fessel gets to have the first pick. And just like him, he makes the boring pick, the safe pick. He picks Casey. Then Mariah picks Jordan.
Which I feel like those first 2 picks, like they planned out. If you look at everyone that's left, the way that they should, because you're like, I'm going to take someone who's not only a strong competitor, but has a weaker partner. So I feel like those had to be the first 2 picks because, I mean, you get into it and it's, you know, Devin and Tori being like, oh, like we're last. I think that had more to do with both of them are solid competitors, that there wasn't necessarily a huge advantage having one over the other.
I agree. Like the last couple teams, you can make a claim there, or like there's another reason why you pick someone. So Mariah ends up picking, or Fessel picks Bananas to be vindictive, and also because he's scared of Bananas and Jordan, and so he needs to have at least one of them on his team. Leaving Nani on Mariah's team. Mariah then picks Amber, which gives Fessel Chauncey. Fessel then picks Nelson because Nelson is his boy and he has a lot of making up to do because Fessel's a bitch. Which gives Mariah Nerys. And like we're getting to these last 2 teams, and Nerys is commenting about how Fessel's team like is the powerhouse team, but there's a lot of cooks between her and Horatio, they're like, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen there. Like, there's not a lot of sous chefs. There's a lot of head chefs at the table. Whereas Mariah's team is smaller, but probably the better one overall when it comes to the mental side of competitions. And you have Kenny.
Kenny's there.
Kenny is there, but he has hurt knees. They never hurt as much as in his entire life as today. But then so Mariah gets Horatio and Devin, or Horacio and Devin, and Fessel gets Olivia and Tori. So the final team makeups are Fessel, Casey, Anissa, Bananas, Chauncey, Nelson, Olivia, and Tori. And then Mariah, Kenny, Jordan, Nani, Amber, Nerese, Horatio, and Devin. I know I keep saying Horatio wrong. I'm sorry. But overall, what are your makeup of the teams?
I mean, yes, Fessel's team does look to be more of the powerhouse. I think if, what we're assuming is right, that they're going to be tethered together, I still would expect Fessel's team to be winning more of the challenges, but I think it puts a lot of people on his team at risk, simply how the makeups are. Because if you're doing that, guess who's going to be good for a while? Jordan and Anissa. Because if it's Jordan that's going into elimination by himself, he's probably not losing to any of the guys that are over there.
Yeah, you can make a very strong claim. Kenny ain't beating him in anything. Horacio, it depends. Devin, again, it depends.
Yeah, like,
but you would put like
lose.
the smart money. Vegas is putting the money on Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, outside all that, it'd probably still be Jordan minus 400 or 500 to come out the most unscathed. The guys on Mariah's team.
The funny thing is, even with these teams split up, because I believe that the final will still, like, you'll come back to your ride or dies, whichever ones are left. Like, the main ones, like the veterans that are there, I still feel confident are getting there to the end. Like, I think you can sign up Devin and Tori, Jordan and Anissa, and Benez and Nani for the final. And it's just who's the other team.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And that's why I brought up earlier that I worry that, Fessel did all this type of stuff and he could be screwing himself, because if Mariah has to go down and do elimination because he didn't think about everything that could potentially happen, that could be the reason why he goes home, because of all the people. I think maybe there was someone else, but Bananas is the only one that said that. And of course he's been on all these challenges, so he has that going for him of being like, not only am I self-interested, I'm worried about my team, but he's the only one that mentions that I'm still concerned with the placement of my ride or die in this game, making sure that Nani's safe.
Yeah, like, I think really the only other team that ever mentioned that on camera was Amber and Chauncey. Because, like, Amber's, like, saying, like, if you need to say my name, because we don't know what the format's going to be like. If you have to say my name in order to go further, say my name. Like, I'm there's nothing that will damage our relationship if you do that. And Chauncey's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. And but everyone else just thinks that it's a brand new game. And it's like, I don't think so.
But yeah, so this was a non-elimination episode. It was sort of a definitely a step down. We'll have to see how they come on the bounce back for episode 10 now that we're in this new format. We do get the mid-season trailer. Seems like a lot of high animosity, a lot of tension moving forward. So let's hope for some good TV, folks. We're here for the long run. But that wraps up our coverage today. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Dan, the Joker, for being here with me. Most likely, Jonny will be back next week. We will see. It is the Survivor finale next week, so he will be back for that podcast for after the very long finale. We will figure out a time for the challenge after that. But until next time, cheers and good night, everyone.
And for more bonus content, go to realitypatron.com. That's right, become a patron now. Get additional coverage of all your favorite shows, the weekly Q&A, and you become a member of the secret, exclusive Facebook group. That's Reality Patron.